Welcome to Christian Statesman, Episode 2. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and today we're going to talk about the real political issues. As we watch the current election controversy, the underlying question is, what are the real political issues? What lies underneath all the controversy that we are seeing today? Let's peel away the layers for a minute and take a look. We've become accustomed to a two-party system in America. Most issues are seen through the lens of Republicans versus Democrats. The traditional assumption is that more liberal-minded individuals line up behind the Democrats and more conservative thinkers behind the Republicans. We have, for the most part, bought into this reality. But is this the real dichotomy? What if we claimed that the real issue is not Republican versus Democrat? It is not Trump versus Biden. It is not progressive versus conservative, or any number of other subdivisions based on oppositional or identity politics. The real issues do not involve black versus white Americans or pro-life versus women's rights advocates. They are far removed from environmental activists versus the oil lobby. It has little to do with big business versus independent entrepreneurs. This is the sideshow, the sleight of hand, the grand distraction. This is not to discount these many issues that dominate our political dialogue. They are important and deserve discussion. But they are not the main attraction, the big show. We are being directed into divisionary approaches to these comparatively lesser issues to disguise the larger, overarching issue at hand. And that issue is a dominant global socialist oligarchy versus independent sovereign governance. What do we mean by that, and how does that shake out and affect us today? A 2018 Oxford University study revealed that there are 60 families across the globe that now control over half of all the wealth and resources on the planet. We will skip the names for now, but needless to say, you will not find any of them on the Forbes wealthiest lists. But rest assured, this type of wealth and power always has its own agenda. This type of wealth lives beyond governments. It is significant enough to control governments. If you have ever wondered why nothing changes in Washington despite whoever gets elected, you might look in this direction for an answer. The European Union has been a test case for this desired version of global governance, a sort of neo-socialism that has a form of communitarian law that trumps individual rights as outlined in the Constitution. The goal is to unite the world under the direction of this global oligarchy, and the ultimate goal is control. Control of what? Well, everything. How you live, how you consume, how you reproduce, how you work. All in the name of preservation of resources and unobtainable equality and the environment. But an ever-tightening control is at the core of this, make no mistake. This is the envisioned utopia of the elite, the 1% of the 1%, and a plan that is moving forward whether we recognize it or not. So the real battle, the larger issue, is not between competing factions in our own country. It is between elements within our country that feel it is better to give up sovereignty to acquiesce to a larger vision of global governance controlled by appointed, not elected bureaucratic bodies that answer to a larger worldwide vision. Don't believe it? Look closely at the Paris Climate Accord or the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreements. You will find elements of surrender in these documents, giving foreign boards control over how we manage our own business. The problem is, this vision is not one of liberty, but a model that can only and inevitably lead to tyranny. And if you believe faith will be exempt from this ideal, think again. Anytime this form of government has raised its head, the idea of faith in God becomes a threat. Any vision of a divine power above that of the state is threatening to a state willing to declare absolute power. When you drill down deep enough, the same scenario unfolds. Good versus evil, liberty versus tyranny, Christ versus Satan. Frame it however you like. It takes a free people to worship God freely in spirit and truth. An overarching global oligarchy would be a giant step in the direction of eliminating the necessity for God. The history of the last century reminds us of how quickly such impediments can be put in place. We should awaken and focus on the larger issues at hand, come what may from this election.